Imagine this. You're standing at the edge of the world, your heart beating with the wild pulse of liberation. You've built a life that is unapologetically your own, full of depth, ambition, passion, and grace. And yet, here you are, inexplicably drawn to the chaos that lies in the gaze of a man who cannot fathom the power of your quiet presence. He watches you with an intensity that betrays a hunger he cannot name, a thirst he dare not quench. And in the heart of his obsession, he's addicted to your detachment. It's not just your beauty, your intelligence, or your strength, it's the absence you've mastered. It's your mystery, your refusal to be owned or controlled, your power to remain untouched by the world's demands. For in his unconscious mind, a man is often driven by the primal desire to possess what he cannot fully understand, and more than anything, he is bound to the enigma that is her detachment. This is the paradox that pulls him in. The more you distance yourself from the pursuit of his validation, the deeper he falls into the unspoken tension between you. It's the very detachment that evokes a strange longing within him, one that fuels an addiction he cannot admit to. The woman who is not desperate, not hungry for approval, who dances to her own rhythm, she is not just attractive to him, she is intoxicating, a force he cannot control or define. Carl Jung might have called this a confrontation with the shadow, the part of himself that he refuses to acknowledge, but which surfaces whenever he faces the freedom you embody. The shadow is not inherently bad, but it represents the parts of his psyche that he has disowned or suppressed. His desires, unspoken vulnerabilities, and the chaos of his ego all rise up when confronted by your unapologetic detachment. Your indifference serves as a mirror, reflecting back to him the places where he feels powerless, the parts of himself that long for the very thing he cannot reach, freedom from the chains of his own attachments, the ability to stand in his own truth without needing to dominate or control. In your detachment, you are a living embodiment of the feminine principle that he cannot possess, no matter how hard he tries. This principle, the anima, is the archetype of the deep, mysterious feminine within every man, the aspect of the psyche that represents his creative potential, his capacity for intuition and emotional depth. Jung believed that when a man fails to integrate his anima, he can become attached to external projections of it, looking for a woman who will bring him the answers he craves, only to find himself frustrated and unable to truly understand the depths of what he seeks. He projects his inner yearning for wholeness onto the woman who remains unattainable. You see, he's not in love with you, not in the way he believes. He's in love with the reflection of himself that you represent. The parts of him that have been buried under layers of ego. The parts that are afraid of vulnerability, afraid of truly confronting the unknown within. You, the detached woman, are the embodiment of the archetype that refuses to be contained. A living manifestation of the wild feminine energy that cannot be tamed. His addiction is not to you, it is to the energy of liberation and mystery you radiate. Your power lies not in what you give, but in what you withhold, and in that withholding, you speak to his deepest unconscious fears and desires. Have you ever wondered why men seem to pursue you the hardest when you are least available? When you have no interest in chasing them, when you are whole in yourself and have no need to prove anything, it is precisely because you are not in need of their validation that they find themselves drawn to you, as if caught in a magnetic field they cannot escape. In their own unconscious minds, they are seeking a piece of their own soul, the freedom, the mystery, the untamed wildness that your detachment represents. And yet, it's not just the unconscious man who is affected by this dynamic. There's a part of you that is drawn into the same tension. The pull to be seen, to be desired, to be loved, can create a subtle form of attachment within you, too. The temptation to lower your guard, to give him the attention he craves, is often strong. But remember, in doing so, you betray the very essence of your power. You, too, must confront your own shadow, the part of you that fears being alone, that fears not being enough without someone else's validation. In embracing your detachment, you must also free yourself from the need to be validated by anyone, especially the man who only seeks to possess you through his own projections. You may have been told that to be loved, To be desired, you must give, you must bend, you must appease. But true power comes not from yielding to another's desires, but from standing firmly in your own. When you choose yourself, when you embody your own wholeness, you become magnetic in a way that is entirely untouchable by the shallow forces of validation. This is the power of detachment, the ability to stand in your truth. To honor your own journey, without relying on external approval or affirmation. The man who is captivated by your detachment is not aware of the profound journey that unfolds within him as he faces the quiet strength of your indifference. It is a journey he may never consciously understand, but it is a journey that shapes him nonetheless. Every glance he casts toward you, every moment of yearning for your attention, is a call to his own unconscious mind to confront the parts of himself that are still fragmented, still searching for something outside of himself to complete the picture. His pursuit of you is not a simple desire for companionship, it is a pursuit of something deeper, something primal. He seeks to possess the very essence of what he cannot grasp. But here's the truth. The moment he becomes aware of this, the moment he starts to recognize the power of your detachment, he is faced with a choice to confront the disowned parts of himself or to continue in his self-imposed blindness. And for many men, this moment of confrontation is a frightening one. It is far easier to project one's desires onto another than it is to face the terrifying unknown within. To be drawn to your detachment is to be faced with the shadow of his own unconscious. It is to be challenged to let go of the very attachments that have defined him and to step into the vulnerability of individuation, a journey that demands strength and courage. Individuation, as Jung would call it, is the process of integrating the unconscious with the conscious, of reconciling the fragmented parts of the self into wholeness. It is the work of facing the parts of us we would rather deny, the shadow we try to suppress. And when a man sees you, the woman who is not consumed by his gaze, the woman who holds herself apart with grace and poise, he is confronted with a reflection of his own need for growth, his own need for self-realization. He may not know it, but this is the very thing that compels him, that keeps him chasing, longing, and craving. You are the catalyst for his own inner work. But while this journey is necessary for him, it is not your responsibility to guide him through it. This is where the true power of your detachment lies. It is in your ability to remain centered, not in his approval, but in your own self-awareness. You do not seek to fix him, to soften his edges, to heal his wounds. You are not his savior. You are, instead, the embodiment of a woman who knows her own worth, her own strength, her own independence. And it is this very knowing, this unwavering certainty in your own value, that creates the magnetic force he cannot resist. The men who chase this power, who chase the mystery of your detachment, will often try to break you, to weaken your resolve, to make you surrender to their expectations. They will project their need for validation onto you, making you feel as though you owe them something, as though your independence is a threat to their fragile egos. But in reality, their attempts are nothing more than a reflection of their fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of confronting their own vulnerabilities. Fear of relinquishing control. And in these fears, they will try to make you bend, to conform, to give up your autonomy in exchange for their fleeting affection. This is where you must stand firm, like a mountain unmoved by the wind. You are not here to play games, to chase their validation, or to meet their endless needs. You are here to live your truth, to embody your wholeness. The moment you give in to the temptation to please them, to seek their approval, is the moment you lose sight of your own power. Remember, your detachment is not a rejection of love or connection. It is a rejection of the need to be validated by another. It is a commitment to yourself, to your own path, to your own purpose. In the end, the man who truly deserves you will be the one who understands this. He will not seek to possess you or control you. He will see you for who you are, not as an object of his desire, but as a woman whose inner power radiates with the quiet confidence of someone who is whole in herself. So, when he turns his attention toward you, when his gaze lingers just a moment too long, when his heart beats a little faster in your presence, understand that it is not just you he is drawn to. He is drawn to the very essence of your detachment, the freedom, the mystery, and the strength you carry within. He is drawn to the woman who has learned to live for herself, to choose herself over the fleeting validation of others. And in this, he will find both liberation and frustration. For he cannot possess what is already whole. The more he chases you, the more he will realize that you are not something to be captured or controlled. You are a force of nature, a wild, untamed feminine energy that is not bound by his desires. The more he chases, the more he will encounter the shadow of his own unconscious mind, the parts of him that he is afraid to confront, the parts of him that yearn for the freedom you represent. There is a hidden dance in this dynamic, a push and pull that mirrors the eternal tension between the conscious and unconscious, the masculine and the feminine. He chases, and you remain still. He chases, and you walk away. And with every step you take away from him, he steps closer, more consumed by the puzzle you present. But you are not a puzzle to be solved. You are a mirror. An archetype, a reflection of the anima, the deep feminine mystery that every man seeks, but cannot fully grasp. But understand this, the dance does not make you passive. Your detachment is not apathy. It is strength. It is the embodiment of the divine feminine principle, not as a submissive vessel, but as an autonomous being who holds the fullness of her own life. And therein lies the most alluring truth: he is not chasing you. He is chasing the reflection of his own hidden desires, his own fragmented soul that yearns for integration. Your detachment forces him to confront his own disowned parts, parts that he may not yet have the courage to face. And so he becomes addicted, not to you, but to the confrontation you create within him. He becomes addicted to the self-awareness he cannot yet reach. He desires to possess you not because you belong to him, but because in you, he sees the parts of himself he is yet to claim. Your detachment is the mirror that reflects his own fragmentation, and in your absence, he is faced with the terrifying unknown of his own ego. The more he chases, the further he is pulled away from himself. His desires, born of unconscious projections, push him toward something that can never be fully attained, and the cycle continues. Relentless, consuming. But this is where your power lies. The more you detach, the more you stand in your own wholeness, the more he is forced to confront the stark truth. That you are not his to control, and that his desire for you is not about you at all. It is about his own unconscious need to integrate the pieces of himself he has long ignored. His addiction is not to your presence, but to the inner work he is called to do in your absence. The more you stand firm, the more you remain untouchable in your self-worth. The more you force him to step up, to confront the parts of him that are fractured and lacking. And yet, in all this, remember that you are not the one he is truly searching for. The man who seeks the unattainable is ultimately searching for himself. You are the catalyst, the force that drives him inward, the mirror that forces him to confront the deepest, darkest corners of his soul. He may not know it, but his need for you is a need for his own self-actualization, for his own wholeness. His addiction to your detachment is simply the manifestation of his unconscious yearning for the integration of his own fragmented being. For you, this is an opportunity for great empowerment. To remain detached is not to be cold or indifferent. It is to be in complete control of your own emotions. To be a woman who is so whole in herself that she no longer seeks to fill the empty spaces within with external validation. It is to become a force in your own right. A woman who does not chase or crave, but instead chooses what aligns with her soul. Your detachment is not withdrawal. It is the act of choosing yourself over the chaotic validation of another. You are already enough, whole, complete. And the moment you realize this, you become untouchable, not because you are distant, but because you are fully, utterly yourself. But the path of detachment is not always an easy one. It requires a constant commitment to your own self-worth. It requires the courage to stand alone, to trust in your own inner compass, and to walk away from relationships and situations that do not serve your highest good. It demands you to let go of the need to prove yourself, to silence the voice that tells you that you are not enough without someone else's approval. It requires you to confront the deepest shadows within yourself, the fears, the insecurities, the doubts that make you question your own worth. And yet, in this detachment, in this commitment to self, you tap into something far more powerful than any external validation could offer. You become a woman who is whole in herself, a woman who has mastered the art of self-love, and a woman who is unafraid to walk away from anything that does not honor her sovereignty. Your detachment is not weakness, it is your strength. It is the mark of a woman who knows her worth, who understands that true power lies not in the need for approval, but in the freedom to live for oneself, unencumbered by the projections of others. The man who once chased you with hunger in his eyes will eventually begin to realize that he cannot possess you. The more he chases, the further you slip through his fingers, and with each failed attempt to capture your attention, he will be forced to face his own inability to control what cannot be controlled. But do not mistake this for rejection. It is not about rejecting him, it is about rejecting the need for his approval. You do not need his validation to know your worth. You are not here to meet his expectations. You are here to meet your own. In the end, the man who truly deserves you will be the one who sees you for what you are, not as an object to be possessed, but as a woman whose wholeness cannot be defined by anyone other than herself. He will not seek to control you, but will instead cherish your autonomy, your mystery, and the quiet power that radiates from your very being. And when that happens, you will not need to chase. For the woman who knows her worth does not chase, she chooses. There is a profound shift that occurs within the man who has been chasing, longing, and yearning for the unattainable, and this shift is often unnoticed, unspoken, but ever present. The chase, once so fervent and all-consuming, begins to lose its pull, and with it, he begins to face something far more uncomfortable than the hunger for your attention. He faces himself. The detachment you embody is no longer just a physical distance, but an emotional boundary that forces him to question the nature of his desires, his own worth, and the very foundation of his ego. For too long, he may have built his sense of self on external validation, the attention of women, the admiration of his peers, the praise of his accomplishments. These external markers of success serve as mirrors reflecting back to him a version of himself that feels real, but is not. But in you, he finds a reflection that does not cater to the ego. You do not look to him for validation, nor do you require his approval to feel whole. And in this, he is confronted with the truth. The validation he craves is not the key to his wholeness. It is a hollow prize, one that only feeds the ego but does nothing to nourish the soul. Your detachment is the mirror that shatters the illusion of his ego's dominance and brings him to the doorstep of his own individuation. You see, a man's ego is not inherently bad. It is necessary for navigating the world, for asserting himself, for carving out a place in the external realm. But when the ego becomes the sole driver of a man's life, when it is inflated by external validation, he becomes trapped in a cycle of endless chasing, never truly feeling satisfied. His ego thrives on the pursuit, on the constant feedback loop of desire and gratification. But when confronted with your detachment, he is forced to realize that no amount of chasing can fulfill the deeper need within him. The external validation he seeks is not a pathway to inner peace, but a distraction from it. This is where the power of your detachment becomes transformative. It offers him the opportunity to step out of the trap of egoic pursuits and into a deeper, more meaningful journey, the journey of individuation. Jung described individuation as the process of integrating the unconscious aspects of the self, bringing together the light and dark, the masculine and feminine, the conscious and unconscious. It is the journey toward wholeness, toward the realization of one's full potential. But to embark on this journey, one must first be willing to confront the parts of the self that have been denied, suppressed, or ignored. And here, you are the catalyst for that transformation. You are not the solution to his problem, but rather the force that compels him to face it. Your detachment. Your refusal to play the game of chasing or seeking validation acts as a mirror to the parts of him that need healing, the parts that need to be brought into the light. In your absence, he is left to confront the shadows of his own psyche, the parts of him that are fragmented, wounded, and disconnected. The more you pull away, the more he is left with no choice but to look inward, to question the foundations of his self-worth, and to confront the deeper truths about who he is and what he truly desires. But as much as he may resist this confrontation, it is necessary for his growth. For in the end, a man's journey toward wholeness is his own responsibility. And just as you must learn to detach from the need for his validation, he must learn to detach from the need for external approval in all forms. Only when he can come to terms with his own worth, independent of others, will he be able to truly claim his own power. And only then can he approach relationships with a sense of integrity, of true connection, rather than from a place of need or egoic control. For you, the path of detachment leads to something far more profound than simply avoiding the pain of attachment or rejection. It is the path of empowerment. It is the realization that your worth is not tied to the opinions or desires of others, but to your own inner knowing, your own sense of self. It is the courage to stand firm in your truth, to live life on your own terms, regardless of how others may perceive you. Your detachment is not an act of withdrawal, but of strength, a quiet strength that comes from the deep understanding that you are already whole, already enough. And in this, you reclaim your power, not just in your interactions with men, but in every aspect of your life. You stop chasing after the external markers of success, the fleeting affirmations of others, and instead, you turn inward. You learn to trust your own inner voice, to listen to the wisdom of your soul, and to move through the world with grace, confidence, and purpose. You no longer need anyone else to tell you that you are worthy, you already know. And the men who truly deserve you will see this. They will recognize your worth, not as something to be won or earned, but as something that simply is. They will not try to possess you or control you. Instead, they will celebrate your autonomy, your strength, and the quiet power that comes from knowing yourself, from standing firm in your own truth. In the end, the man who is drawn to your detachment, who is addicted to the mystery and power you embody, will realize that what he truly desires is not you, but the path of self-discovery that your detachment leads him toward. And as he embarks on that path, he will learn to find the wholeness he seeks within himself, rather than projecting it onto others. And you, in turn, will continue to walk your own path, a path of empowerment, of self-love, and of unshakable confidence in your own worth. The woman who knows her worth doesn't chase, she chooses. And in this choice, she stands tall, untouchable, and free.